The alarm on Jake Morrison's phone went off at 6 in the morning. He groaned and reached over to turn it off. Another day. Another cargo run to the moon. He sat up in bed and rubbed his face with both hands. The apartment was quiet and dark. Too quiet, as always. Jake walked to the kitchen and started the coffee maker. While it brewed, he stared out the window at the Seattle skyline. The city was just waking up. Lights flickered on in distant buildings. He had lived in this apartment for 3 years now, but it never felt like home. Nothing had felt like home since he came back from that mission 7 years ago. He poured his coffee and checked his phone. 15 messages. That was strange. Usually he only got 1 or 2 from his boss at the cargo company. He opened the first message. It was from his sister Katie. Jake, turn on the news right now. The next message was from his old friend Pete. Dude, are you seeing this? More messages, all saying the same thing. Something big was happening. Jake grabbed the TV remote and turned it on. Every channel showed the same thing. A massive spaceship hovering above Earth. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The news anchors were talking fast, their voices filled with panic and excitement. The alien vessel entered orbit approximately 2 hours ago, a female reporter said. Military forces from every nation are on high alert. The ship has made no hostile moves, but it has broadcast a message. We're going to play that message now. The screen changed. A voice spoke in perfect English. It was female, clear and strong. I seek Commander Jake Morrison of Earth. I will speak only with him. Prepare him for contact within 24 hours. Jake dropped his coffee cup. It shattered on the floor, hot liquid spreading across the tiles. His heart pounded in his chest. No, it couldn't be. After 7 years? Why now? His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered it with shaking hands. Mr. Morrison. This is Director Helen Carter with the Federal Security Agency. I need you to remain calm and stay exactly where you are. Agents are on their way to your location. Do not leave your apartment. Do you understand? Yes, Jake managed to say. Good. We'll be there in 10 minutes. The line went dead. Jake sat down on his couch, his mind racing. He knew exactly who was in that ship. Princess Lyra, the alien woman he had fallen in love with during humanity's first contact mission. The woman he had promised to return to. The woman he had abandoned. No, not abandoned. He had tried to go back. He had begged them to let him return. But Earth's government had other plans. They needed time, they said. They couldn't risk complications, they said. His personal feelings didn't matter when weighed against humanity's future. He had tried to send messages. Every single one had been blocked. After a year, they had told him to move on. Find a normal life. Forget about her. But how could he forget? How could he move on when part of his heart was still light years away? A loud knock on the door made him jump. That was fast. Jake opened it to find 4 agents in dark suits. Director Carter stood at the front. She was a tall woman in her 50s, with gray hair pulled back tight. Mr. Morrison. We need to go. Now. Where are we going? Geneva. Neutral ground. The alien delegation has agreed to a meeting there. Delegation? Jake asked as they led him out of his apartment. How many came? Just 1 ship, but it's heavily armed. Our analysts say it's a royal vessel. Imperial class. Mr. Morrison. We need to know what we're dealing with. Your file says you spent 6 months on their home world. You were assigned a cultural liaison. Do you know who's in that ship? Jake nodded slowly as they walked to the elevator. Yeah, I know exactly who it is. 2 hours later, Jake was on a military transport plane heading across the Atlantic. Director Carter sat across from him, with a tablet in her hands. I've been reading your mission reports from 7 years ago, she said. You left out some details. Like what? Like the nature of your relationship with Princess Lyra. Jake looked away. It wasn't relevant to the mission. It's relevant now. She came all this way. She's demanding to speak with you specifically. Commander Morrison, were you romantically involved with the alien princess? The question hung in the air. Jake had never told anyone the truth. Not completely. He had written in his reports about the friendship, the cultural exchange, the diplomatic progress, but he had never written about the nights they spent talking under alien stars, about the way she laughed at his jokes, about the promise he made. Yes, he finally said. We were. Director Carter nodded. That explains a lot. Mr. Morrison, I need you to understand something. Earth's position in the galaxy is still very weak. We're newcomers. One wrong move could set us back decades. This meeting could be an opportunity or a disaster. We're counting on you to handle this carefully. You mean you want me to do whatever it takes to keep them happy? I mean, we want you to repair whatever damage was done 7 years ago when we brought you home. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. You mean when you forced me to break my promise to her? When you blocked every message I tried to send? When you told me to forget about her? Director Carter's expression didn't change. Those were difficult decisions made for the greater good. Now we have a chance to fix things. Don't waste it. The plane landed in Geneva at sunset. Jake was taken to a secure facility on the outskirts of the city. The building was surrounded by military vehicles from a dozen countries. Inside, diplomats and officials rushed around preparing for the meeting. They put Jake in a small room to wait. He paced back and forth, his mind spinning. What would he say to her? Would she even listen? 7 years was a long time. Maybe she just wanted answers so she could finally move on. A woman in a military uniform entered. They're here. The shuttle just landed. Jake's stomach dropped. This was really happening. They led him to a large meeting room. One side was filled with Earth's representatives, government officials, military leaders, diplomats, all watching him. On the other side of the room was a large doorway that led outside to the landing area. Then she walked in. Princess Lyra looked exactly as Jake remembered. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her skin a luminescent silver that seemed to glow softly in the artificial light. Her eyes were large and almond-shaped, shifting from blue to purple as she scanned the room. She wore elegant robes in deep violet, and her long white hair flowed down her back. She moved with perfect grace, every step deliberate, but it was her eyes that hit Jake the hardest. When they locked onto him, they flashed dark red. Anger, pain, betrayal. She crossed the room in long strides. Everyone else seemed to disappear. It was just the two of them now, standing face to face after 7 years apart. When she spoke, her voice was cold. Why did you abandon me, human? The words cut through Jake like a knife. Around them, cameras recorded everything. Diplomats held their breath. The entire world was watching. Jake opened his mouth to answer, but no words came out. What could he possibly say? How could he explain 7 years of silence? 7 years of broken promises? Lyra's eyes flickered with different colors. Purple, red, dark blue. She was struggling to control her emotions. I waited for you, she continued. 2 years. I waited at the portal coordinates where you promised to return. 2 years, Jake. And you never came. You never even sent word. Did our time together mean nothing to you? Lyra. Princess Lyra, she corrected sharply. You lost the right to use my name informally when you abandoned me without explanation. Jake felt like the ground was falling away beneath his feet. This was worse than he had imagined. She thought he had simply chosen not to return. She didn't know the truth. He looked around at all the government officials watching them. These were the same people who had kept him from her, who had blocked his messages, who had told him to forget and move on. Something inside, Jake snapped. 7 years of guilt, frustration, and grief came flooding out. I tried to come back, he said loudly. I tried for 3 years, to get reassigned to the contact mission. I sent dozens of messages through the portal. I requested. I begged. I demanded. And they stopped me. Every single time. He turned to face Director Carter and the other officials. They blocked my messages. They refused my requests. They told me that my personal feelings were less important than Earth's diplomatic position. They kept us apart because they were afraid a relationship between a human and alien royalty might complicate things. The room erupted. Reporters who had been allowed in started shouting questions. Other officials tried to speak over each other. Director Carter's face went pale. But Jake only cared about one person's reaction. He turned back to Lyra. Her eyes had changed to white. Shock. Jake's mind drifted back as he looked at Lyra's shocked face. He remembered the day it all began. 7 years ago. He had been 28 then, a military pilot with top scores in every test. When they selected him to command humanity's first interstellar mission, he thought it was the greatest moment of his life. The Pathfinder was humanity's pride. A ship built using technology from an alien signal that had reached Earth 5 years earlier. The crew was small. Just 5 people. Jake as commander and pilot. Dr. Lisa Hayes, a biologist. Dr. Marcus Bennett, a physicist. Kyle Peters, their engineer. And Amy Chen, their communications specialist. They trained together for 8 months before the launch. The day they left Earth, millions of people watched. Jake remembered looking back at the blue planet through the window, wondering if he would ever see it again. The journey through the wormhole took only minutes, but it felt like being turned inside out. When they emerged on the other side, they found themselves in a completely different part of the galaxy. The Ethereum Empire was waiting for them. 3 massive ships surrounded the Pathfinder immediately. Jake's hand had gone to the weapons controls. But Amy stopped him. "They're hailing us. Audio only. They're speaking English." A deep voice came through the speakers. "Human vessel Pathfinder. You are welcome to the Ethereum Empire. We have been expecting you. Please follow our ships to Atheris Prime. You are honored guests." The capital planet was like something from a dream. Massive cities that stretched for hundreds of miles. Ships of every size and shape filled the sky. The Pathfinder landed in a special docking area, built just for them. When the airlock opened, Jake was the first to step out. He wore his military uniform, and his heart was pounding. A group of aliens waited for them. Most were tall and elegant like Lyra, but there were other species too, all watching the humans with curious eyes. An older alien male stepped forward. His skin was silver like Lyra's, but darker with age. His eyes were a steady gold color. "Welcome to Atheris Prime. I am Elder Zane, advisor to Emperor Theron. His Majesty welcomes humanity to the galactic community. These coming months, you will learn our ways, and we will learn yours. Cultural liaisons have been assigned to each of you to help you adapt." Jake noticed a young female alien standing slightly behind Elder Zane. She was beautiful, even by human standards. Her silver skin seemed to glow. Her eyes shifted from blue to green as she looked at him. When their eyes met, Jake felt something he couldn't explain. "Commander Morrison," Elder Zane continued, "as mission leader, you will be guided by Princess Lyra, youngest daughter of Emperor Theron. She will teach you our customs and help you navigate our society." Lyra stepped forward and bowed slightly. When she spoke, her voice was musical. "Commander Morrison, it is an honor to meet the first human commander. I hope we will learn much from each other." 2. Lyra. The first few weeks were overwhelming. Everything was new and strange. The technology was hundreds of years beyond Earth's. The city never slept. There were dozens of alien species walking the streets. Jake had to learn new customs, new etiquette, new ways of thinking. Lyra was patient with him. She met with him every day, teaching him about the Empire. At first, their conversations were formal. She would explain the history of her people, the structure of the Empire, the politics between different species and planets. Jake would tell her about Earth, about human history, about the struggles and dreams of his people. But slowly, things changed. The formal meetings became longer. They started talking about more than just history and politics. Lyra asked him about music, and Jake played her songs from Earth on his portable device. She was fascinated by human music, especially the blues and jazz. She said it had a sadness that her people's music lacked. Jake asked her about her life as a princess. Lyra's eyes dimmed when she answered. She told him about the expectations, the duties, the complete lack of freedom. Every moment of her life was planned. Every action was watched. She was expected to marry someone chosen by her father for political reasons. She had never been allowed to choose anything for herself. "Sometimes I wish I had been born as anyone else," she said one night as they sat in the palace gardens. "A farmer, a pilot, a teacher, anyone but a princess." "I understand," Jake said. "Not about being royalty, but about duty. In the military, your life isn't your own either. You go where they tell you. You do what they order. But at least I chose to join. You never had a choice." Lyra looked at him with her color-shifting eyes. They were soft purple in that moment. Sadness mixed with something else. "You understand more than most, Jake Morrison." It was the first time she had used just his first name. As the months passed, Jake found himself thinking about Lyra constantly. When he wasn't with her, he wanted to be. When they were together, time seemed to stop. The rest of his crew noticed. Lisa teased him about it. Kyle told him to be careful. Amy warned him that relationships with aliens could cause problems. But Jake couldn't help himself. And he was pretty sure Lyra felt the same way. Her eyes would turn soft pink when she looked at him. In her culture, pink meant affection. He learned to read her emotions through her eyes. Red for anger, blue for calm, purple for sadness, white for surprise, gold for respect, and pink for love. One day, Lyra took him to a remote part of the planet. A cliff overlooking a vast ocean. 3 moons hung in the purple sky above them. They sat on the edge, their legs dangling over the water far below. "This is my favorite place," Lyra said quietly. "When I was young, I would come here to escape the palace, to pretend I was free. It's beautiful," Jake said. "Jake?" Lyra turned to face him. Her eyes were pink. "I must tell you something. These past months with you have been the happiest of my life. You see me not as a princess, but as a person. You listen to my thoughts, my dreams, my fears. No one else has ever done that." Jake's heart raced. "Lyra, I feel the same way. Being with you is. I've never felt like this before. About anyone, but you will leave soon," Lyra said. Her eyes shifted to purple. "Your mission will end. You will return to Earth. And I will remain here, trapped in my duties." "What if I didn't leave?" Jake asked. "What if I stayed? Your people need you, and mine need me. Then I'll come back. After I report to Earth, after I fulfill my duty, I'll find a way to return." Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then she reached into her robe and pulled out a small crystal pendant on a silver chain. It glowed with a soft blue light. "In my culture, this is a bond crystal. When 2 people exchange them, it means their souls are connected. Forever. No matter how far apart they are." She placed it in his hand. "Take this with you. Remember me. And if you truly mean to return, I will wait for you." Jake took the crystal and put it around his neck. Then he pulled Lyra close and kissed her. It was strange and wonderful. Her lips were cooler than human lips, and she tasted like something sweet he couldn't name. But it felt right. Perfect. "I promise I'll come back," he whispered. "No matter what it takes." The last week on Atheris Prime passed too quickly. Jake and Lyra spent every moment they could together. They didn't hide their relationship anymore. Other aliens whispered when they saw them together. Elder Zane looked worried. But Emperor Theron, when Jake finally met him, only smiled knowingly. "Take care of my daughter's heart, young human," the Emperor said. "She has given you a precious gift." The night before departure, Jake and Lyra returned to the cliff. The 3 moons were full, casting silver light across the ocean. "I'll wait for you," Lyra said. "Right here. At this spot. Come back to me, Jake." "I will. I swear it." They held each other as the night passed. When morning came, it was time to leave. The Pathfinder's crew gathered at the landing area. Lyra stood with the other aliens, who had come to see them off. Her eyes were steady, purple, fighting back tears. Jake touched the crystal pendant under his uniform. Lyra touched an identical one she wore. Even from a distance, he could feel the connection between them. The journey back through the wormhole was silent. The crew knew Jake was hurting. When Earth appeared on their screens, Jake felt no joy, only loss. The moment they landed, everything went wrong. Military personnel swarmed the ship. They were separated immediately for debriefing. Jake barely had time to grab his bag before they took him to a secure facility. The questioning lasted for days. They wanted to know everything about the Ethereum Empire. Military strength, technology, politics, weaknesses. Jake answered everything except questions about Lyra. Those he kept vague. When they finally let him out, he went straight to his commander. "I need to request immediate reassignment to the follow-up mission." His commander looked uncomfortable. "Morrison, there is no follow-up mission." "Not yet." "What do you mean?" "We established contact. We have relationships with them. We need to maintain that connection. It's not that simple. The government needs time to process what we learned, to decide on a strategy. We can't rush into deeper engagement with an empire that powerful. It could be dangerous." "How long?" "A year, maybe 2. Jake felt panic rising. "I need to send a message then. Through the wormhole. Tell them I'll return as soon as possible." His commander shook his head. "All communications are being classified and controlled. We can't have unauthorized messages going through. It could compromise Earth's position." "This isn't politics. It's personal." "Everything is politics now, Morrison. You're dismissed." Jake tried everything. He wrote messages and submitted them through proper channels. They were never sent. He requested transfers. They were denied. He even tried to go directly to higher officials. They told him the same thing. Earth's safety came first. His personal feelings were not important. After a year, he was told to move on. Find a normal life. Forget about the alien princess. But how could he? Every night he touched the crystal pendant and thought about Lyra waiting for him on that cliff. Every day he woke up knowing he was breaking his promise. After 3 years, he gave up. He left the military and became a cargo pilot. He moved to Seattle to be far from the capital and the people who had stopped him. He tried to live a normal life, but part of him was always light years away, with the woman he had left behind. Now, standing in Geneva 7 years later, Jake looked at Lyra's shocked face and knew she finally understood the truth. He hadn't abandoned her by choice. The meeting room was chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Diplomats argued with each other. Earth's officials tried to regain control of the situation, but Jake only watched Lyra. Her eyes had shifted from white shock to flickering between multiple colors. Red, purple, blue, white, all flashing rapidly. In her culture, it meant she was overwhelmed. Too many emotions at once. "You tried to return?" she asked quietly. Her voice was barely audible over the noise in the room. "Every day for 3 years," Jake said. "I wrote messages. Dozens of them. I begged them to send me back on the next mission. I even tried to resign from the military and find my own way there. They stopped Everything. Director Carter stood up. Commander Morrison, that's enough. This is not the appropriate forum. Not appropriate? Jake turned on her, his anger finally breaking free. You people kept me from her for 7 years. You blocked every attempt I made to keep my promise. And now she's here, thinking I abandoned her by choice. I'd say this is exactly the appropriate forum. Oh. He pulled the crystal pendant from under his shirt. It still glowed with soft blue light after all these years. I've worn this every single day since I left Atheris Prime. Every single day. Does that look like someone who wanted to abandon her? Lyra stared at the pendant. Her eyes locked on steady purple. Sadness. She reached into her robes and pulled out an identical crystal. Its light pulsed in rhythm with Jake's. I wore mine too, she said softly. Even after I stopped believing you would return. I couldn't take it off. The room had gone quiet now. Everyone watched the two of them. The alien princess and the human pilot. The cameras were still recording. This was being broadcast around the world. Around the Empire. Director Carter tried again. Perhaps we should continue this discussion in private. No, Lyra said sharply. Her eyes flashed red. This has been private for too long. Earth's people deserve to know what their government did. My people deserve to know why I came here. She turned to address the entire room. When she spoke, her voice carried authority. This was not the soft-spoken woman Jake remembered. This was an imperial princess. 7 years ago, I met Commander Jake Morrison. Over 6 months, we formed a deep connection. When he left, he promised to return. I believed him. I waited for 2 years at the place where we said goodbye. I sent messages asking when he would come. None were answered. I asked my father to send ships to Earth to inquire. He refused, saying humanity needed time to adjust to the galactic community. She paused, her eyes shifting to purple again. I thought Jake had used me for information. That he had pretended affection to gain my trust and learn about the Empire. I thought he was like so many others who see me only as a political tool. I was wrong. It seems we were both victims of political calculation. One of the reporters raised her hand. Princess Lyra, why did you come to Earth now? After 7 years, Lyra's expression hardened. Because my father is dying. The Emperor has perhaps weeks left to live. When he dies, the succession will be decided. I have been named his heir, but my claim is contested. My older brother Prince Darius believes I am too young, too weak to rule. Many noble houses agree with him. She looked directly at Jake. I came for 2 reasons. First, I needed to know the truth about what happened between us. I needed to know if what we had was real, or if I had been a fool. Now I know. And the second reason? Another reporter asked. To offer humanity a choice, Lyra said. If Commander Morrison agrees to return with me and stand at my side during the succession, I will elevate Earth's status in the Empire. You would go from newcomers to a species with direct ties to the imperial throne. Technology, trade, protection, respect. All of this could be yours. Director Carter stepped forward. Princess, surely we can discuss the terms. There are no terms to discuss, Lyra interrupted. The choice is Commander Morrison's alone. He comes willingly, or not at all. If he refuses, I will return to Atheris Prime, alone. Earth will remain as you are now. Outside, observers with no special status. And if he agrees? Carter asked. Then humanity becomes one of my imperial houses. You would have rights and protections under galactic law. Your planet would be under my direct protection. No Empire world could harm you without answering to me. When I become Empress, Earth would have a voice at the highest levels of power. The room erupted again. Everyone talking at once. The implications were enormous. Earth could leap ahead decades or even centuries in development. But it all depended on one man's decision. Jake felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Literally. Everyone was looking at him now, waiting for his answer. "Can I speak with Lyra alone?" he asked. "Absolutely not," Director Carter said. "This is too important." "It's not your decision," Lyra said, coldly. Her eyes flashed red again. "Jake asked to speak with me privately. I agree. Everyone else will leave." Now, there was power in her voice. Ancient authority. These humans might not recognize it, but Jake did. This was an imperial command, not a request. Slowly, reluctantly, the room emptied. Director Carter was the last to leave. She gave Jake a meaningful look. He knew what she was thinking. "Don't mess this up. Earth's future depends on you." When they were finally alone, the silence was heavy. Jake and Lyra stood facing each other across the empty room. 7 years of pain, longing, and misunderstanding between them. "I don't know what to say," Jake started. "Then don't say anything yet," Lyra said. She moved to the windows overlooking the city. "Let me speak first. I need you to understand what you would be agreeing to if you come with me." She stared out at the Geneva skyline. "The succession will be brutal. Darius has the support of the old houses, the ones who believe the empire should remain closed, isolated, superior. They see new species like humanity as inferior, as threats to our way of life. I represent change, progress, integration. They hate me for it." "Why did your father name you as heir then?" "Because he believes the empire is dying from within. We've been too isolated for too long, too arrogant. Other empires are rising while we stagnate. He thinks new blood, new ideas are the only way to survive. But changing a civilization that has existed for 10,000 years is not simple." She turned back to Jake. Her eyes were steady blue now. Calm. "If you come with me, you will be in danger. Darius will see you as proof that I've been corrupted by outsiders. Assassins will target you. Court politics will be vicious. You would be leaving Earth, possibly forever. You would be giving up everything familiar for a life of uncertainty." "Why do you want me there?" Jake asked quietly. "For political reasons? To show you're open to other species?" Lyra's eyes shifted to pink. "Affection. Is that what you think?" 2. I don't know what to think. 7 years is a long time, Lyra. People change. You're not the same woman I met on Atheris Prime. You've become harder, colder, more distant. "Because I had to," Lyra said, and for the first time, her voice cracked slightly. "After you left, I waited for 2 years. 2 years of hoping every day that you would come back. Every ship that arrived, I thought it might be you." She walked closer to him. "I couldn't be soft anymore. I couldn't show weakness. If I had, Darius would have used it to prove I was unfit to rule. So I buried everything I felt. I became the ice princess they expected. Cold, calculating, untouchable." Tears formed in her large eyes. Jake had never seen her cry before. "But I never stopped wearing your crystal. Even when I told myself you were a liar. Even when I tried to hate you, I couldn't take it off. Because some part of me still hoped." Jake felt his own emotions rising. "I never stopped thinking about you. Every night, I would touch this crystal and remember that cliff, the 3 moons, your promise to wait for me. It destroyed me that I couldn't keep my promise." "Then come back with me," Lyra said. "Not for politics. Not for Earth's benefit. Come back. Because we deserve a second chance. We deserve to finish what we started 7 years ago. What if we've changed too much? What if we're not the same people anymore? Then we'll get to know each other again. But at least we'll have the chance. At least we won't spend the rest of our lives wondering what might have been." Then. Jake thought about his life on Earth. His empty apartment. His lonely cargo runs. The hollow feeling that never went away. What did he really have here to lose? I need time to think, he said. Lyra nodded. I'll return to my ship. You have until tomorrow at sunset. Come to the landing area with your answer. If you choose to stay on Earth, I will leave and never return. You'll never see me again. If you choose to come, bring only what you can carry. Your old life ends the moment you board my ship. She walked toward the door, then paused. Jake, I'm not asking you to choose between Earth and me. I'm asking you to choose between the life you've been living and the life you could have. Choose wisely. Then she was gone, leaving Jake alone in the empty room. The rest of the day was a blur. Earth's officials swarmed him immediately. They argued that he had a duty to accept, that Earth's future depended on him, that it would be selfish to refuse when so much was at stake. Director Carter cornered him in a private room. Morrison, you understand what's being offered here. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. For all humanity. And if I only say yes for political reasons, how long do you think that would last? Lyra would see through it. This would fail. And Earth would be worse off than before. Then make it real. Learn to care for her again. You can't force feelings, Director. No. But you can choose to try. That's all I'm asking. Give it a chance. Jake returned to his hotel room late that night. He stood on the balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, Lyra's ship was waiting. She was waiting for him to make a choice that would change everything. He pulled out his phone and called his sister Katie. Jake. Oh my God. I've been trying to reach you all day. Are you okay? Is it true? Is she really the woman you told me about years ago? Yeah. It's her. What are you going to do? Jake was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, Katie. I really don't know. Jake didn't sleep that night. He sat on the hotel balcony watching the sky, thinking about everything. By morning, he still hadn't decided. His phone buzzed constantly with messages. His old crew from the Pathfinder mission all wanted to talk to him. He met Lisa Hayes for breakfast at a quiet cafe away from the media chaos. She looked the same as 7 years ago, maybe a bit older. She smiled when she saw him. You look terrible, she said. Thanks, that helps. Lisa ordered coffee for both of them. I've been watching the news. The whole world has been watching. Jake, you need to talk to someone about this. Have you called Kyle or Marcus? Not yet. You're the first. Okay, so tell me. What's holding you back? Jake stirred his coffee without drinking it. 7 years, Lisa. It's been 7 years. What if we don't fit together anymore? What if I get there and realize we're strangers now? You won't know unless you try. But that's not what's really bothering you, is it? Jake sighed. Everyone expects me to go. The government. The media. The whole planet. They're all counting on me to save humanity's future. What if I just want to go for me? For selfish reasons? What if I make the wrong choice, and Earth suffers because of it? Lisa reached across and took his hand. Jake, listen to me. I was there 7 years ago. I saw the way you looked at her. The way you fell apart when we came home. You weren't the same person after that mission. You've been half alive ever since. Whatever you decide, do it for yourself. Not for Earth. Not for politics. For you. But what if? Stop asking what if. You've spent 7 years asking what if. What if I could go back? What if she's waiting for me? What if we could have had something real? Now you have a chance to answer those questions. Don't waste it overthinking. After breakfast, Jake met with Marcus Bennett and Kyle Peters at the hotel. Amy Chen joined them by video call. The whole crew together again, even if just briefly. Marcus spoke first. We all know what we think you should do. But what do you want, Jake? I want to go, Jake admitted. I've wanted to go back since the day we left. But I'm scared. Of what? Amy asked from the screen. Of failing. Of making things worse. Of disappointing everyone. Kyle shook his head. You're overthinking this. You love her. She loves you. Politics and duty, and all that other stuff is just noise. Follow your heart. When did you become such a romantic? Jake asked with a small smile. I learned from watching you 7 years ago. You taught me that some things are worth taking risks for. That afternoon, Jake took a long walk alone through Geneva. He needed to clear his head. As he walked past shops and cafes, he saw his face on every television screen. The news was covering nothing else. The human who held Earth's future in his hands. He found himself at a small park by the lake. Children were playing. Families having picnics. Normal life continuing, while the world waited for his decision. An old man sat on a bench, feeding birds. Jake sat down next to him. They sat in silence for a while. Then the old man spoke. You're that pilot. The one on the news. Yeah, everyone thinks they know what you should do, but they don't have to live with the choice. You do. That's the problem. I don't know what's right. The old man scattered more seeds for the birds. My wife died 10 years ago. We had 53 good years together. You know what my only regret is? I almost didn't ask her to marry me. I was scared. Thought I wasn't good enough for her. What changed your mind? I realized that being scared of making a mistake is not a good reason to make no choice at all. Sometimes, you have to jump and trust that you'll figure out how to fly on the way down. The old man stood up and patted Jake's shoulder. Good luck, son. Whatever you decide. As sunset approached, Jake returned to his hotel room. He had 2 hours left to make his decision. He packed a small bag with a few belongings. Photos of his family. Some clothes. A few mementos from Earth. Everything else would stay behind. His phone rang. It was Director Carter. Morrison, what's your decision? I haven't made it yet. The deadline is approaching. Earth needs to know. Earth will know when I tell Lyra. Not before. He hung up. Then he made one more call. To Katie. Jake? I'm going to go. Katie was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I'm happy for you. Really. You deserve this. Quote, what if I'm making a mistake? Then you'll make it together. That's better than being alone and wondering forever. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you too. But I'll see you again. Somehow. And Jake? Send me pictures of alien worlds, okay? Make me jealous. Jake laughed despite the tears in his eyes. I promise. 1 hour before sunset, Jake took a car to the landing area where Lyra's shuttle waited. Media surrounded the facility, but security kept them back. Earth's officials were there too, all watching him arrive. Director Carter approached him. You're early. I wanted time to think before she arrives. And have you thought? Yeah, I have. Morrison, I need to know. Are you doing this for Earth? Or for yourself? Jake looked her straight in the eye. I'm doing it for me. Because I love her. Because I've been miserable without her. Because life is too short to spend it wondering what might have been. If that also helps Earth, then great. But that's not why I'm going. Carter nodded slowly. Good. That's the right answer. If you were doing it just for political reasons, it wouldn't work anyway. She'd see through it. A commotion at the gate drew their attention. Lyra had arrived. She walked toward the shuttle landing pad with her head held high. Her robes flowed behind her like water. Her eyes were steady blue, calm, prepared for whatever answer Jake would give. She stopped when she saw him standing there with his bag. You're early, she said. I didn't want to waste time, Jake replied. Have you made your decision? Jake took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would change everything. I have. But before I tell you, I need you to promise me something. Lyra's eyes flickered to white. Surprise. What? Promise me that if I go with you, it's not just for politics. Promise me we'll have time for us. Not just for duty and succession and empire. Time to figure out if we can still work. If we can be together not because we have to, but because we want to. Lyra's eyes shifted to pink. Affection. I promise. Jake, I didn't come all this way just to use you as a political tool. I came because I needed to know if what we had was real. I needed to know if there was any chance for us. Then my answer is yes. I'll go with you. For a moment, Lyra stood perfectly still. Then her eyes blazed bright pink, and she crossed the distance between them in 3 quick steps. She wrapped her arms around him in a tight embrace. Her skin was cool against his, but it felt right, like coming home. You won't regret this, she whispered. I hope not. They pulled apart as Earth's officials approached to make the formal arrangements. Jake would be appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the Ethereum Imperial Court. It gave him official status and protection under galactic law. Papers were signed. Speeches were made. Cameras recorded everything, but Jake barely paid attention. He kept looking at Lyra, and she kept looking back. Her eyes stayed pink the entire time. Finally, it was time to leave. Jake said goodbye to Director Carter, to his old crew, to the few people who had come to see him off. Then he and Lyra walked to the shuttle together. As they lifted off, Jake looked down at Earth. The blue and green planet that had been his home for 35 years. He wondered if he would ever see it again. Part of him felt scared, but another part felt free. No regrets? Lyra asked beside him. Jake reached over and took her hand. Her fingers intertwined with his. Ask me again. In 7 years. Lyra smiled. It was the first real smile he'd seen from her since she arrived. Deal. 2. The shuttle docked with the massive starship waiting in orbit. As Jake stepped aboard, crew members stopped and stared at the human who would accompany their princess. Some looked curious. Others looked hostile. But none of them mattered. Jake was here now. There was no going back. Lyra led him through the corridors to a large room with windows overlooking space. Earth hung in the distance, slowly getting smaller. This will be your quarters, she said. Mine are next door. We leave for Atheris Prime tomorrow. The journey will take 2 weeks. That gives us time to talk. To catch up on 7 years. I'd like that. Lyra moved to the door, then paused. Jake, I know this is overwhelming. Everything is happening so fast. If you need space, if you need time alone to process everything, I understand. Actually, I was hoping we could have dinner together. Just the 2 of us. Like we used to. Her eyes went bright pink again. I'd like that very much. That night, they had dinner in Lyra's quarters. She served him food from Atheris Prime, dishes he remembered from 7 years ago. They talked for hours, about what they'd each been doing, about the pain of separation, about their fears for what came next. What's it really going to be like? Jake asked. When we get there, Lyra's expression grew serious. Difficult. Dangerous. Darius won't accept my claim easily. There will be challenges. Possibly violence. The court is full of people who will see you as weakness, as proof I'm unfit to rule. And what do you see me as? Lyra reached across and touched the crystal pendant Jake still wore. My strength. The proof that I'm capable of connecting with others, of building bridges instead of walls. That's what the Empire needs. Not more isolation, but openness. No pressure then, Jake said with a weak smile. I won't lie to you. This will be hard, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I don't have to face it alone anymore. They talked until late into the night. When Jake finally returned to his quarters, he stood at the window and watched Earth disappear in the distance. He thought about the old man in the park, about jumping and learning to fly on the way down. He pulled out his phone, which surprisingly still had a signal. One last message from Katie. Be happy, big brother. That's all that matters. Jake smiled and put the phone away. Tomorrow they would begin the journey to Atheris Prime. to succession battles and court intrigue and danger. But tonight, he was just happy to be with Lyra again. After 7 years, he was finally keeping his promise. The journey to Atheris Prime took 2 weeks through normal space. The ship could have used faster routes, but Lyra wanted time to prepare Jake for what was coming. Every day, they met in her quarters to discuss the political situation. "You need to understand the power structure," Lyra explained on the 3rd day. She had a holographic display showing the noble houses of the Empire. "There are 12 major houses. 6 support me. 4 support Darius. 2 are undecided. We need both of those undecided houses to secure my claim." Jake studied the display. "What about the military? Who do they support?" "That's complicated. The old guard admirals favor Darius. They're traditional, conservative, but the younger officers, especially those who've worked with other species, lean toward me. The War Master, General Kane, is neutral for now. His support would be crucial, so we need to win over the undecided houses and the War Master." "Yes, but it won't be easy. Darius has been working on them for years. You're our advantage. You represent new possibilities. If I can show that working with other species makes us stronger, not weaker, we might have a chance." 1. Jake felt the weight of responsibility. "What if I mess up? What if I do something that makes things worse?" Lyra touched his hand. "You won't. And if you do, we'll handle it together." Every day they trained. Lyra taught Jake the customs and etiquette of the imperial court. How to bow to different ranks. What colors meant in different contexts. The proper way to address nobles and officials. Jake's head spun with information. "This is impossible," he said after a particularly frustrating lesson. "There are too many rules. You don't have to be perfect," Lyra said. "You just have to show respect and genuine effort. Most people will forgive mistakes from an outsider who's trying. It's arrogance they won't forgive." None. Jake also met Lyra's inner circle. Captain Kira was the head of her personal guard. She was shorter than Lyra, but moved like a trained fighter. Her eyes were constantly scanning for threats. When she met Jake, her eyes flashed red. "You're the human," she said flatly. "That's me. If you betray the princess, I'll kill you myself." "Kira," Lyra said sharply, but Jake just nodded. "Fair enough." Kira's eyes shifted to gold. "Respect. Maybe you're not completely useless." Elder Zane was different. The old advisor Jake remembered from 7 years ago looked even older now, but his eyes were still sharp gold. He embraced Jake when they met. "Welcome back, Commander Morrison. I hoped you would return." "You did?" "Of course. I saw how you and the princess looked at each other. Real connection is rare, especially for those of royal blood. I'm glad you found your way back to each other." On the 10th day of the journey, alarms suddenly blared through the ship. Jake ran to the command deck, where Lyra stood with her officers. A holographic display showed 3 ships blocking their path. "Darius," Lyra said quietly. Her eyes flashed red. "He knows we're coming." "Are they hostile?" Jake asked. "Not yet. They're hailing us." A face appeared on the main screen. The alien male looked similar to Lyra, but harder, older. His eyes were a cold, silver. "Sister," Prince Darius said. His voice dripped with false concern. "I heard you made a trip to the outer systems. How unexpected. And you've brought a pet human back with you." "Darius," Lyra said calmly. Her eyes stayed steady blue. "Move your ships. We're on course to Atheris Prime." "I'm afraid I can't do that. Father is dying, Lyra. The Empire needs stability, not experiments with primitive species. Come home quietly. Send the human back to his world. We can discuss the succession like civilized people." The succession was already decided. Father named me heir. Father is not in his right mind. His illness has affected his judgment. The noble houses are meeting to discuss alternatives. You should be there. not playing with aliens. Jake saw Lyra's hands clench into fists. Her eyes flickered between blue and red. "I'll say this once," she said. "Move your ships or I'll move them for you." Darius smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. "You won't fire on Imperial vessels. That would be treason. And it would prove you're unfit to rule. Then I guess we have a problem." The screen went dark. Lyra turned to Captain Kira. "Battle stations. Prepare to run the blockade. Princess. If we fire on them, we won't fire first. But we won't be stopped either. Calculate a course through their formation. Maximum speed." The next few minutes were tense. Jake strapped into a seat as the ship accelerated. Darius's vessels moved to intercept. Warning shots flashed past the hull. "They're trying to force us to stop," Kira reported. "Don't stop," Lyra ordered. "Full power to shields." Jake watched as they plunged into the gap between two of Darius's ships. More shots. The shields flared but held. Then they were through, accelerating away. "We're clear," Kira said with relief. "Pursue?" an officer asked. "No," Lyra said. "They've made their point. We've made ours. Continue to Atheris Prime." After the bridge crew stood down from battle stations, Jake followed Lyra to her quarters. She was shaking slightly, her eyes flickering rapidly between colors. "That was your brother?" Jake asked. "That was Darius. As warm and loving as ever. He called me a pet. He called you worse things when you first visited 7 years ago. He hates the idea of the Empire changing. He thinks isolation keeps us pure and strong. He's wrong, but he's convinced himself otherwise." Jake sat down beside her. "Lyra, what happens if he wins? If he becomes emperor? He'll close the borders, expel all non-Ethereum species, probably start purging anyone in the Empire who disagrees with him, including me. He'd kill his own sister?" Lyra's eyes went purple. In his mind, it would be necessary. For the good of the Empire. Jake took her hand. "Then we make sure he doesn't win." They arrived at Atheris Prime 4 days later. As the ship entered orbit, Jake pressed his face to the window. The planet looked exactly as he remembered. Beautiful and alien and overwhelming. The landing at the capital was ceremonial. Thousands of aliens lined the streets to watch Lyra's return. Jake walked beside her, trying not to look as terrified as he felt. Cameras followed their every move. Some in the crowd cheered. Others looked hostile. "Ignore them," Lyra whispered. "Just keep walking." The Imperial Palace was as massive as Jake remembered. They were taken to the throne room, where Emperor Theron waited. Jake's heart sank when he saw the Emperor. 7 years ago, he had been strong and regal. Now he looked frail, sitting hunched on his throne. His skin had lost its glow. His eyes were dim, but when he saw Lyra, they brightened slightly. "My daughter, you've returned." "Father," Lyra bowed. Jake bowed beside her. "And you brought the human. Good. I'm glad. You'll need allies for what's coming." "Father," Darius tried to stop us. "I know. He's been working against you since I named you heir. The noble houses are divided. You must convince them, Lyra. You must show them you're strong enough to lead." The Emperor's eyes found Jake. "Young human. You came back for her." "Yes, Your Majesty." "Good. She needs someone who sees her as a person, not just a princess. Take care of her." "I will." That night, Lyra gave Jake a tour of the palace. She showed him the gardens where they used to walk. The library where she first told him about her dreams. Everything was the same, but different now. There was an underlying tension, a sense of coming conflict. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Tomorrow, I address the noble houses. I make my case for why I should be empress. They'll challenge me, question me. Some will try to humiliate me. I have to be perfect. You will be, and you'll be there with me. They'll see you, judge you, use you as evidence that I'm corrupted by outsiders. Let them, I'm not going anywhere. The next day, Jake put on formal robes that Lyra's staff had prepared. They were adapted from human designs, but made with Ethereum materials. He looked ridiculous, but Lyra said he looked dignified. The Great Hall was filled with noble representatives from across the Empire. Hundreds of aliens of different species, all watching as Lyra entered with Jake at her side. The room went silent. Lyra stood before them all. Her eyes were steady gold. I am Princess Lyra, daughter of Emperor Theron, named heir to the imperial throne. I stand before you to make my case. Lord Victor of Housestone stood. He was ancient, his skin almost black with age. Princess, you bring a human to the imperial court, a member of a species that has been in the galactic community for less than a decade. How does this show judgment worthy of an empress? It shows that I understand the future. Lyra replied. The Empire has been isolated for too long. While we've been turning inward, other powers have been growing, new alliances forming. If we don't adapt, we'll be left behind. The old ways have served us for 10,000 years, another noble argued, and they're failing us now. Our technology has stagnated. Our culture has become rigid. We need new ideas, new perspectives. Commander Morrison represents that. His species has overcome incredible challenges. They've gone from primitive to spacefaring in a single generation. They have something we've lost: drive, innovation, hope. They're primitive, someone shouted. They're growing, Lyra countered. In 10 years, in 20, they'll be significant. We can either make them allies now or enemies later. The debate went on for hours. Jake stood silently beside Lyra, trying to look dignified while nobles discussed him like he wasn't there. Some questions were hostile, others curious. A few were even supportive. Finally, the War Master stood. General Kane was massive, even for an Ethereum. His skin was scarred from countless battles. His eyes were hard gold. I have a question for the human. Everyone turned to look at Jake. His mouth went dry. Yes, General? Why are you here? What do you gain from this? Jake thought carefully about his answer. Nothing, sir. I gain nothing politically or materially. I'm here because I love Princess Lyra. Because 7 years ago, I made her a promise. Because I believe in the future she wants to build. That's all. The hall was silent. General Kane studied Jake for a long moment. Then he nodded. Honesty. I respect that. After, he turned to address the assembly. I've fought wars for this empire. I've seen good leaders and bad ones. Princess Lyra has vision. She has courage. She returned from a diplomatic mission with an alliance, instead of just information. I support her claim. The room erupted. If the War Master supported Lyra, it meant the military would follow. Several undecided houses immediately declared their support. The tide was turning. But Darius wasn't done. He stood from his seat in the noble section. This is a farce, he declared. My sister has been seduced by alien influence. She's bringing outsiders into our government, into our family. This is not progress. This is corruption. And you would keep us isolated until we're irrelevant, Lyra shot back. I would keep us pure. Pure is just another word for stagnant. Darius's eyes flashed red. I challenge your claim, sister. By right of succession law, I demand a trial by contest. The room went silent. Lyra's eyes flashed white. Shock. Elder Zane stepped forward. Prince Darius, a trial by contest, has not been invoked in 500 years. It's archaic, but legal, Darius said with a cold smile. The law is clear. If my sister refuses, she forfeits her claim. If she accepts, we settle this the old way. Combat. The winner takes the throne. Lyra's eyes shifted to steady blue. She'd made her decision. I accept your challenge. The next 3 days were chaos. The trial by contest would take place in 1 week. It wasn't a simple fight. It was a series of challenges: combat, strategy, leadership. The first to win 3 challenges would win the trial. Jake trained with Lyra every day. She was already skilled in combat, but she hadn't fought seriously in years. Darius had been training constantly. He was bigger, stronger, and had more experience. "I can't beat him in straight combat," Lyra admitted. "He's too strong." "Then we find another way," Jake said. "You're smarter than him. Use that." Captain Kira agreed. "The princess is right. Direct combat favors Darius. But there are 4 other challenges. We focus on winning those." The day of the trial arrived. The ancient arena was packed with thousands of spectators. Jake sat in Lyra's section with Elder Zane and Captain Kira. His hands were clenched tight with worry. The first challenge was strategy, a simulated battle. Lyra and Darius each commanded a fleet in a holographic scenario. Lyra won decisively, using tactics Darius never saw coming. Score. The second challenge was knowledge. Questions about imperial law, history, and culture. They tied. Score. 1-0 still. The third challenge was combat. Hand-to-hand in the arena. Jake watched anxiously as Lyra and Darius fought. It was brutal. Darius was stronger, landing heavy blows, but Lyra was faster, dodging and wearing him down. Finally, Darius landed a crushing strike that sent Lyra to the ground. She didn't get up in time. Score. 1-1. The fourth challenge was leadership. Each had to lead a team through a complex crisis scenario. Lyra's ability to inspire cooperation won her the challenge. Score. 2-1. Lyra. The fifth and final challenge was endurance, a race through brutal terrain. Both contestants were exhausted from the previous challenges. The entire arena watched as they ran, climbed, swam through the course. Darius pulled ahead early. His strength gave him an advantage. Lyra fell behind, struggling. Jake wanted to look away, but couldn't. Then something changed. Near the end of the course, there was a section that required working with other competitors who were part of the challenge. Darius tried to do everything himself, fighting against them. Lyra cooperated, working with them instead. She crossed the finish line first. Barely. But it was enough. The arena erupted in cheers and boos. Lyra had won. 3-2. Darius stood in the center of the arena, his eyes blazing red. For a moment, Jake thought he might attack. But finally, in front of everyone, he knelt. "I acknowledge your victory." But his eyes promised this wasn't over. 2 weeks later, Emperor Theron died peacefully in his sleep. The coronation was held the next day. The Empire couldn't wait. It needed an emperor. Lyra stood in the throne room in ceremonial robes. Elder Zane placed the crown on her head, a simple band of silver metal that had been worn by emperors for 10,000 years. "I name you Empress Lyra, ruler of the Ethereum Empire." Jake watched from his place of honor. Lyra's eyes were steady gold. She looked like she belonged on that throne. After the ceremony, they finally had a moment alone. Jake found her on a balcony overlooking the capital city. Lights stretched to the horizon. "You did it," he said. "We did it." Lyra corrected. "I couldn't have done this without you." "What happens now?" Now comes the hard part. Actually ruling. Making the changes I promised. Dealing with people like Darius, who will resist every step." "Sounds exhausting." "It will be." She turned to look at him. Her eyes shifted to soft pink. "But I'm glad you'll be here. Jake, I want you to know, you're not just a political ally. You're not just Earth's ambassador. You're my partner. In everything." Jake pulled her close. "I know, and I'm not going anywhere. I waited 7 years to get back to you. I'm not leaving again." They stood together, looking out at the city as fireworks began. A human tradition that Lyra had adopted for the coronation. Colors exploded across the sky. "Do you miss Earth?" Lyra asked. "Sometimes. But home isn't a place anymore. It's wherever you are." Lyra kissed him. In the distance, Jake saw ships launching from the spaceport. Trade vessels, diplomatic ships, explorers heading to distant worlds. The Empire was opening up, changing, growing, and somewhere out there, Earth was looking to the stars, no longer alone. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy. Because one man kept his promise, Jake smiled and pulled Lyra closer. After 7 years of waiting, suffering, and struggling, they were finally together. The future wouldn't be easy. There would be more challenges, more enemies, more battles, but they would face them together. And that made everything worth it. The story wasn't ending. It was just beginning.